And now, Tim Dillon is going to hell!
Welcome to Tim Dillon is Going to Hell, everybody.
Those people aren't all dead.
Oh, who's not all dead in the intro?
If you can rewind it, I mean, look at him.
It's Jeffrey Dahmer, Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden's not dead.
Osama bin Laden is not. You don't think he's dead?
No.
You think he? Well, you don't think. Most people think he was killed years
Way
before we said he was killed.
I'm quite the opposite.
You think he's alive?
Theorist. Yeah, I don't believe.
I'm a conspiracy theorist too, but I mean, let's get a conspiracy we can all kind of even understand.
He's still alive.
He's alive.
They brought him back. He was an operative in the first place. They brought him back, shaved his beard, like, go live your life. Thank you for good service.
I love the "go live your life." By the way, I love that quote too.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, go live your life.
You know why they're okay with him too? Because what was his one big thing that we're all mad at him about?
9/11.
Okay,
Right.
Never happened.
Right.
There never were the World Trade Centers.
Good point.
So
hard to argue.
Yeah, it's all a fucking
Hologram
conspiracy,
planes.
man.
Yeah.
It's just
the
Photoshop.
whole year 2001 didn't happen.
That's deep.
What about that?
That's deep state.
That's deep.
That's wow.
Time is
I like
a construct.
I like that.
What is it about conspiracies? Because every now and then I'll watch like Owen Benjamin because I don't know why, but there's something about somebody on the brink that I like because I see myself there eventually. I'm like, oh, that's what it'll be like, you know, when I'm in a backyard playing a piano, talking about. But he's now like where we've never gone to the moon. Now he's like kind of flirting with flat Earth. There's something about conspiracies. You get in with really reasonable ones like JFK. And shit that's like, that is weird.
Yeah.
And then you end up, you go through the looking glass and then you're like, 9/11 never happened. Like,
well, it's fun to do them. They're fun things to get into. And it's also like you put yourself in a position of like, I'm one of the few, which is always a better place.
Yeah.
Same reason why, like, if you like a band, they're cool. And then when they get super mainstream, you're like, fuck.
right.
Because
Everybody likes
same
them.
band, but like you like them less because everyone's into it.
And I guess to stay one of the few in the conspiracy world, you got to get further and further into the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And but then it's also like, well, I've woken up, so you guys haven't woken up, so I'm better than you.
Yeah,
same as religion is,
same thing. I used to watch only YouTube videos with under 1,000 views. So I'm like every other one's been fucking co-opted.
Yeah.
You can't have an ad for Chobani on your video about the truth.
Yeah, no. I love starting a conversation with, oh, you don't even know about, and then whatever it is. It's like, yeah.
Like I was talking to Sam Tripoli the other day. And
he's a great one about it.
He's great, and I love Sam. Here's what I like about Sam is that nothing's off limits. But then also, but I'll have to like say to him, because he said to me, he's like, the government is attacking Malibu, California. These fires are not legit.
Oh.
They are direct energy weapons being, and I'm like, Sam, the people that live in Malibu, California are the government's friends. Like the people that live in Malibu are not making trouble. Why
They're the 1%. They're the ones who would like government works for us.
Kind of, yeah. Like, why is the government burning up their house? And Sam's just like, chaos theory, which is just this theory to explain anything that you can't logically get to. Sam's like, chaos theory scares people, keeps people on their toes. And I'm just like, man. And I love conspiracies, but it gets to a point where I'm like, oh, I can't co-sign that.
What I like about Tinfoil Hat podcast, is that he's willing to examine everyone. Kind of the way Art Bell is like, okay, let me look at your facts here.
Yeah.
But he looks at them all as like, sure. And then after the end, he's like, no, these don't add up.
Right.
But he's willing to be like, sure, okay, there's lizard people and they're in your school. Sure, tell me how you first found out about it.
Right. And so many of these are like, I think... Everybody has like a thing, and religion's a thing for many people, and the conspiracy realm is a thing for many people. And it's just like you said, it really comes down to like what makes you feel like you possess some kind of knowledge that other people don't.
Right, yeah.
It's the same reason.
Are you on the in?
Right.
Were you there?
Right.
Then sure.
Yeah, it's the same social justice shit where it's like, I'm woke. I know not to use this word. Or
but now here's some where it's like stuff gets buried under, I don't know, time or zeitgeist.
Yeah.
So like I dated a girl. I always date girls. I try to use the word women, but here girls works.
Oh yeah, on this network,
I date young.
Girls is
oh yeah,
fine.
Fine.
That is fine.
As long as I sign cunts, then
we would have accepted anything from hoes to we literally don't refer to them with language.
Yeah. what is that up there?
What is what?
Slap fight with girls in bikinis. All right.
You dated a woman.
Oh yeah, and when the stuff about Trump came, would grab her by the pussy, the locker room talk, and I was trying to explain what locker room talk was, why that would be a thing, and I was like, yeah, guys, kind of, I don't know, we kind of go nuts.
Even if
you're not into it, you still kind of like, you're not willing to take a stand and be like, how dare you say that about someone I've never met,
Right.
You just don't do it. You just laugh uncomfortably. Same as racism.
Right.
When somebody's really racist around you, I mean, it takes a lot for you not to, instead of just walking away or like, I hope he changes the subject.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to be like, hey man, no.
Right.
Unless you're doing something to someone, you just
because
take it.
You a lot of times you make the calculation in your head. You're like, I don't want to get to know this person more.
How long till this goes away?
Right.
What's the quickest way for this to go away?
How can this person leave? I don't want to educate this person.
If I start talking to them, now it's an ongoing conversation. I don't want to do that. Anyway,
Right.
So I was talking about locker room talk, and I was like, yeah, but I mean, remember, but this is not new. She was like, well, it's a creep in the White House. I was like, yeah, but that's not new. I remember Clinton and Lewinsky.
Right.
And she was like, no, what? I was like, what?
Wow.
She was like, no, what happened? He goes, oh, he was fucking his intern. She was like, what? When? I was like, in the White House.
How old was she?
She was probably 20. So she's now probably 29.
Okay.
So she was 27, whatever. But like,
okay,
it was just predated. I was in college when those papers came out, and she was probably like 10, 9.
Yeah.
It just didn't come across her desk,
That was my introduction to comedy, because I was like, I forget what age I was. I'm 33 now. But when that was happening, it was every late night host, SNL. I'm like, oh, this is comedy. Like, this is what funny things happen in the world, crazy things. And then people go out and make fun of them. And that was kind of my introduction to like, this is what comedy is.
When I started comedy, I was like, just doing Lewinsky jokes, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, you're also like, oh, I get it, because life is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, life is insane. And these are the people that make fun of it.
But the fact that she didn't hear about it,
crazy.
Means like some stuff kind of, the story goes away. OJ, the story's still around.
Yeah.
And it's a longer story.
You travel around the world. You go to a lot of different places. What is the difference in like the media diet in those places? And do you notice it? Like, because in America, we are completely inundated every day, all day with like stimuli. People are just on their phones. Is that everywhere now?
There are in, let me see what country, Timor-Leste. There were billboards saying, don't text and drive.
Okay.
A 15, 16-year-old, it's got to be third world country.
Yeah.
Don't text and drive stuff. So that means it's a problem if they're putting billboards up.
Sure.
That's a government billboard. That's not
and you're talking about East Timor?
Yeah.
Right. So it's pretty, I mean, other than real third world countries, I mean, it's pretty across the board.
Yeah. This was Dili is the capital, but still, it's like, Now, in Egypt, there's not many people on smartphones.
Really?
Yeah, I just went there, and it's real, like, flip phone central. I took my thing out trying to be special, and they're like, make a call.
Why is that?
Poverty.
Yeah. Okay.
Poverty and maybe no network. I don't know.
Okay.
Terrorism
That might be another
I'm not
problem.
sure. The roads are real shitty, too. At some point, you have to leave your lane of the highway, go into the oncoming traffic, and then come back to your direction.
Really?
Yeah. And
how does that work? Are there accidents?
Yeah, they're like, people, when I read about it, they're like, don't rent a car in Egypt. Just don't do it. And I'm like, no, I get it. You're scared to drive in other countries. And I'm like, oh, I see what you're saying here.
How do you get around? Uber?
Taxis.
Taxis.
So you have to bargain with everything is a bargain.
Yeah.
There's no real prices. Nowhere. Not at 7-Eleven. Nowhere are there real prices.
How often is that like a feature of where you go? There's no set price. And
not like Egypt. Nowhere's been like Egypt.
Really?
It's like there's a general thing at markets and stuff. But like if you go to a store and buy a shirt, it's a fucking price.
Right.
Nothing like that in Egypt.
Really?
Nothing.
So if you go to a store, it's still haggling.
Absolutely. And they hit you with a price that's not even like a little higher. It's 10 times higher. So they hit you with 4,000 of their things.
Yeah.
When you know the price is $5 times 17 is 50. Let's say 75. And they hit you with 4,000.
Wow.
And you're like, I mean, if you hit me with, it's supposed to be 75, you hit me with like 200, I could be like, no, 50. And we'll talk from there. At 4,000, I feel like an asshole saying 50.
Yeah.
So you got to go like 1,500. And they're like, how about 3,800? And you're like, no, actually, this is already way too much.
Yeah. How much do they hate Jews?
They don't. Okay. They hate them. But they're not
outwardly, or is it like inwardly?
Oh yeah, I got into a nice discussion with a guy because what I love talking to foreigners about is hating the government. I can relate to him on it.
Yeah,
and it's every country.
And that's somewhat of a dangerous thing to do. in some of these countries.
Nobody
wants an American comedian coming around going, hey guys, you know, your people suck too.
No, I let them offer it usually. I remember in Indonesia, I was talking about how shitty, like fucking, it was right after Trump got elected, so he hadn't really even been in office to do anything yet. But I was talking about just the government in general being corrupt, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Jacoby," and I was like, "What's Jacoby? What's your guy like?" And like, "Oh, we have this amount of islands that we all tell our children. We have 17,474 islands, and he sold one to China. So now all the textbooks are wrong because he decided to sell one of the islands to another country."
Yeah.
And so they're like, fucking Jacoby. Right. And then every time I meet somebody after that, they're like, how's America? They're like, oh, Trump. I'm like, yeah, what about Jacoby? They're like, oh, yeah, he sucks. You know? Yeah, you can really relate. Everybody hates their government.
He sold that island.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Fucking Jacoby.
Yeah, dude, when I hit him with the number of islands, like, what? How'd you know that? So, yeah, I would talk to him about corruption. And this guy was like talking about 9/11 and how he had a friend who moved to America, was in the military. And he goes, you know who did 9/11?
They all believe it's like Mossad Jews.
Yeah. Right. He didn't know I was a Jew. He couldn't point out what a Jew was.
So he had never seen a Jew.
It's kind of like my dad hating gays, where it's like, I hate them, but he was like, I don't know what it is. And then we had my gayest, super, like Elton John gay best friend. He was like, Andrew's gay? I'm like, what? How did you not know that? I guess you just don't even know what one is, but you know you hate them.
Right.
Or they're weird.
He just hates the idea of them.
Yeah. My dad doesn't hate gays. He was just like, you know, gays, ew. But not hate. But they hate the Jews.
Say my dad is kind of like gays,
And you're like, another time.
You know, he'll never be like, are you seeing anyone? Like, he doesn't do that, but he doesn't mind. Like, you know, they let me have dinner in their house.
Oh, that's cool.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's my part with Jews.
But he's not like, you grab the balls, which is, you can't expect a straight dad. There's a limit to what you even want a straight dad to get in.
But your dad wouldn't do that if you were dating a woman. He would be like, you lick that pussy lip.
Right.
Like, oh, Dad. Ew. Get the fuck out of here.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I want my dad to be like, was he hung? Was he big?
What you want is a gay dad.
I want
who would also be way into that. You know.
But sometimes I feel like straight dudes have bonds with their parents that I'll never have because my parents are like, I don't want to know that my son's out there sucking dick.
Well, why don't you have that bond with your mom?
Well, she's a schizophrenic. So it's like she wants to talk about what Sam Tripoli wants to talk about.
Yeah.
She's like, she's past gay. She's on Obama's a Muslim. That's more interesting.
You know Obama's a Muslim. And I like that you're like, or he's not, but like, let's just say he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And like, what do you mean okay?
Well, I'm like, I'm gay. She's like, Obama's a Muslim. That's more. That's more
worse. And you're like, I mean, thank you, but it's not.
So you get into the conversation with this guy about
9/11 being planned by the Jews. Oh, dude, so I could tell he didn't know I was a Jew, and so I'm like, here's your decision when you're meeting a stranger and they're doing something. You can start saying your point and saying I disagree with you here and here, or you could just do research.
Right.
And the only way to do research on another way of life is listening. And then the best way to listen is to join in, saying you're in a safe space. Please hit me with as much information as you can. I'm not going to attack you, in some way. So I just add in, I'm like, yeah, I know. We all know that in America. Go on, and you really hit him with a lot of stuff. He's like, yeah, they planned it. I'm like, not one Jew died in 9/11. He's like, I heard that. And so you just feed in, and then because I'm not going to try to win this guy's opinion over.
No.
I don't give a shit one way or the other.
No.
But I need to get all the info.
You want to see what he knows.
Yeah, so if I ever do get into a discussion with somebody who says that, I can be like, yeah, I know all your points. I know what's coming.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I talked to, on New Year's Eve, I talked to a male feminist.
Yeah.
Real male feminist. And I could have been like...
In Egypt.
No, this is in Oakland. Yeah.
I was going to be like, that is an interesting population. Yeah. The male feminist of Egypt.
Yeah, you know what?
Wouldn't it be great if he's like, listen, the Jews did 9/11, but it was all Jewish men. Jewish men did 9/11.
You just want to hear him talk. It's like, I'm not. You're fine.
Where was this?
Opinion.
What
Oakland,
foreign
house
country?
party in Oakland.
Yeah, that'll do.
You know what I did find in Egypt is this contingent of men who are in some of the tourist towns, fucking on the reg. Tourists.
Fucking tourists.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They are a devout Muslim country, a very Muslim country. So they mostly don't do it, but there are these nightclubs that pop up. Mo, Robert Kelly's friend, the cigar guy?
Yes.
So he told me it's about some places to go. Hurghada is one.
Right.
There's great nightlife in Hurghada and Alexandria. Didn't make it to Alexandria. But the nightlife, I guess, is like Berlin. Starts at like 12:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like all night.
Yeah. So this guy gets done haggling for shit. They always want to like talk to you about friendship, but really they're just trying to sell you something. I'm like, let me show you my wallet. I'm out. He goes, all right, let's talk. He starts telling about he's fucking 5-6 times a week.
Wow.
22-year-old. He goes, he lost his virginity at 13 to a 41-year-old woman. Belgian woman. And now he likes older chicks.
Wow.
And he goes and fucks.
Is any of that illegal in a place like Egypt? Are do they still have like virtue police and stuff like that?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure.
Right.
I don't believe so. He didn't mention sort of
What
that at all.
about being gay in Egypt? How do they feel? How does that, there's gay clubs there? No.
There'd have to be, but I don't know.
It's because Egypt seems like a place that's kind of westernized, but also devoutly religious, so you probably face some discrimination.
Yeah, it's weird. The largest Muslim country in the world is, do you know?
Oh, God, I don't. I'm going to say largest Muslim country in the world. You mean country that's like
Population.
Muslim?
That's a Muslim country.
Oh, that says the government's
We're
like a theocracy.
No, we're a Christian country. So.
Okay.
Most amount of Muslims in any country.
Oh, I mean, then maybe like Russia?
Indonesia.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like, it's pretty liberal. Like, do what you want, but we're all Muslim.
Gotcha.
You know? But it's not like totalitarian.
Gotcha.
So I don't know how Egypt is.
Because in some of those countries, if you go on a gay website like Grindr, you can go meet up with somebody and they're a cop.
Trying to find you.
Wow. And they'll tell you that. Like in Saudi Arabia, places like that, if you use one of these websites, you're actually in danger of potentially like meeting up with a cop.
Wow.
Who will arrest you.
There's a app.
Yeah.
In Israel, I just found out. Fucking something grass. I forget. I don't know. And you just go online and they hit you up with like people that've gotten reviews for their pot. Overpriced, but they're like, each side needs to trust that the other's not a cop because cops are on there and it's easy pickings.
I'm sure there's a few questions to ask to try to figure out.
Yeah, they tell you to take a picture of your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Screenshot and then take a picture of yourself right now to match that shot.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you travel around all of these different countries, is there any country that you have ever been told you have to really watch your back, you have to really be careful, don't be stupid, don't,
Good question. East Timor for sure. My half brother's a captain in the army.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was telling him I was kind of interested. It's always like piqued my interest. East Timor, and he was like, "Oh no, man, you can't go there. It's not safe. It's not a safe country."
Does it pique your interest because of like all the political issues?
No, I remember it became a country 16 going on 17 years ago.
Right.
And I think I sort of remember the story about it becoming a country when I was, in my 20s.
Right.
So it's always, certain country. I don't know how much you travel, but certain countries or places just get in your head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't travel as much as you. I've been to Ohio.
That's nice. That's nice.
I've been to Chicago.
Are there any places in America you just kind of want to go?
So here's the thing. When I was a kid, when I was in sixth grade, I was little Jake in the national Broadway touring musical Annie Get Your Gun, not to brag.
Oh, yeah.
And I traveled to probably 25 states with my mom in a tour bus with an entire group of actors and actresses. Every night was a different, from, Macon, Georgia to Colorado Springs, Colorado, where the dancers had to get oxygen, to fucking down into Bible Belt to Florida, all the way up to Madison, Wisconsin. Like, we traveled a lot when I was in sixth grade. And now I travel a lot doing comedy, but that was one of the coolest experiences I ever had because that was pre-everything. You had no distraction.
Fuck, it's great.
On a tour bus, dude, and you were I stared out a window, Ari, for hours a day. I mean, these drives would be 7-8 hours a day. And I'd see these massive crosses in people's front yards and the Bible Belt. And I would just look at it and I had no other distractions.
No way of escaping.
No way of escaping. I was, and every night was a different show, and you'd be in like an old theater for the night, and then you'd go stay at like a motel or a hotel, and some of these were like, you're the equivalent of, some of these were like Holiday Inns or Marriott, but the majority of them were like, some of them were like, we were in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and we were staying in this place that, is not like a chain.
But you put coins in the bed and it wrote the
Well, you were doing all that shit. I remember that like, we had a little kitchenette. My mom made me pancakes. And there was like an amusement park, but a shitty one, an Alabama one that we went to.
Like, this is a story of what turned you gay.
Yeah, well, this is it. And then every night I would blow a different man in the.
No, you were too young for that.
In the play.
No way.
Well, my mom said it was the right thing to do because she said I wasn't gay, but my mom said you should. These men have sat on this bus for 8 hours. They're bored.
It's like, come on, be nice.
No, I was not gay.
Have a mouth.
I was not gay then, but you're starting to feel things. The coolest thing from that trip was I met Marilyn Manson. He was staying at one of the hotels I was staying at, and I was a big Marilyn Manson fan.
Whoa.
I.e. gay. And
so Big J.
Well,
you were into his costumes.
Not really. I just thought he was cool, and he was like counterculture, and he was whatever. And he was Twiggy Ramirez, Imza, Marilyn Manson. They all stayed at this fucking hotel, and I saw them in the lobby, and I saw them in the elevator. And it's kind of demystifying when you see Marilyn Manson getting a waffle.
Did he wear the makeup?
Not all of it, but a lot of it.
I heard
the contacts and the
he
pale.
loves being Marilyn so much that he doesn't like being whatever his real name is. That he will, just to go to the supermarket, whatever.
Yeah.
He puts on a bunch of makeup.
So he did have like a very ghostly makeup, but that was the coolest thing. So is East Timor, your brother's like, you cannot go.
He's like, you can't go. And then I was like, oh, and he goes, all right. So here's the deal. You can go to the capital, Dili. You can go no further east than that. That is as far as to say there are bandits there. They're literally bandits.
Yeah. What a fucking word.
Yeah.
Bandits.
Yeah. So things like that.
They're no match for you. You're a comedian. You're a hilarious comedian.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, Ari Shaffir is our guest. We just Skeptic Tank is his podcast. Watching specials on Netflix. So go on, bandits.
Yeah. And so he's like, don't go any further east than that. And then I was like, all right. So now I'm traveling. I'm traveling through a bunch of different countries, and I get to Indonesia, which is where East Timor got their independence from.
Right.
And I'm hanging out
after a genocide.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging out percentage-wise, way bigger than the Jews.
Right.
Hanging out in Bali with this guy from Jakarta who used to work at Facebook, and 2 chicks from California.
Okay. Is this like a thing you're like trying to hook up with the chicks? You're just hanging?
I was hooking up with one of the chicks.
Gotcha.
And then he was I guess he hooked up with the other chick.
Right.
And he had this great fucking pad in Bali. Man, it was cool. Pool
Beautiful,
back there,
yeah.
fucking yard. It was so fucking cool. And he took us around. Like he'd been there 50, 60 times.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and he spoke Bahasa, so it was great to have like almost a
He's
local.
like one of the kings of Bali. He worked at Facebook.
Great, yeah.
Full time year round.
Yeah, I think he worked at Facebook to slum it.
Right,
like
right.
fuck it. I'll get this, like,
I'll try this.
Yeah, $100,000 a year. Fine.
Right.
Anyway, I was telling him a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, you're so close to the what are those little monsters? Those long ones.
What do you mean?
There's
iguanas.
Yeah, but a giant iguanas.
The not the Gila monster. That lizard. I know that. What is it? The Australian.
A Komodo Dragon.
There he is. Yeah. Here's our Australian producer.
Yeah.
It's the one time he's been.
Are you Australian?
Relevant.
Yes,
Lizards.
I am
Here I go.
Australians are the number one non-East Timorians to go to East Timor.
I 100% believe that.
They go everywhere.
Yeah, the only direct flights are from Bali and Darwin.
They love traveling.
Oh yeah,
they love it.
So he was like, "Oh, you got to go see the what were they?
Komodo Dragons."
Komodo Dragons. I was like, "Where are they?" I've always thought about those because they're fucking 3 islands over. They're still in Indonesia. I'm like, "Oh, that's where I'm going next then."
Right.
Sure. And then as I go further, he also told me I was thought about like East Timor, but no. He goes, "Oh, that's fine, man." I was like, "No, there's all these travel advisories." He goes, "That's just because they won't do trade with America."
Oh.
So they haven't lifted the travel advisory because America has no reason why. He goes, "It's totally safe. The Civil War after the Revolutionary War ended in 2006, and it ended hard. There's no more Civil War.
No bandits.
It's safe." And I was like, fuck it, I'll go.
Wow.
Still worried, but fuck it, I'll go.
But did you see a bandit?
I did not.
So this is interesting.
I worried about them all the time, but everyone I thought was a bandit turned out to be a super Christian.
And that is even scarier. You're like, just rob me.
Yeah.
Just rob me.
Yeah.
They're like, but it's man's destiny to embrace. Do you think a lot of stuff around the world, not to say that there aren't some real hellscapes, but do you think that's a great example of the idea that like, oh yeah, they won't trade with America. How much of our perception of a place is just they're not doing business with us?
I think some of it, I think a lot of times when I get scared, when I go to other countries and people are like, "Oh, but you go to lots of countries. You're totally brave. You don't get scared." And I'm like, "Oh, that's completely wrong. I get scared in almost every country I go to.
Right.
Frightened the first couple of days. And it's because of xenophobia."
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. At least in me, and I got to think it's in other people too. You think outsiders are somehow more dangerous than you.
Right.
You're not used to it. It might just be scary because it's foreign to you.
Right.
For whatever the reason is, the more different they look, the more frightened you are.
You feel vulnerable.
You don't feel as vulnerable in Canada as you do in Mexico.
Right. It's you're hardwired to believe that
They look
people.
different.
Yeah.
In England, you don't feel as although in England I do feel when I see some like kids or not kids, like 25-year-olds drunk on the street, I'm like, oh fuck, are these those England punks?
Yeah, hooligans. They're gonna fuck me up. Yeah.
So a lot of it's just outsiders. It's not necessarily racism. It's just like xenophobia.
Do you get over that in a matter of days?
You do as you find the country like, oh, like in Myanmar was the first place I really, China, I guess. But then I was told in China, I was like, this is the safest country in the world. The punishments for violent crime are harsher than almost any country. And people also have a tendency not to want to embarrass their family. So blackout drunk women.
Which we do not have here.
Oh,
Let
no.
me tell you right now.
No. We love embarrassing our family.
That is a sacrament in America. That is so funny.
So once I was told that,
I did an episode 2 episodes ago just shitting on my family's Christmas because I thought the food sucked. You know what I mean? It's just it wouldn't happen in
China. They die with that.
Shanghai.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
So there's a losing face idea that you lose. So then it's like if I commit a violent crime, my whole family's embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Beyond, I'll go to jail for 10 years for fucking mugging somebody.
Filial piety. I'm not saying the first word right, but that comes from like Confucius, I think, and it's the idea that like honor thy father and mother.
Right.
Yeah, which is like
Yeah, and
it's not a thing here.
And the punishments for so there was a comedian in I believe Beijing, might have been Shanghai, but I think it was Beijing, who got arrested for purse snatching.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and he was black.
Okay.
So, the lineup was they just pulled in all the black people there, all 10 of them, and was like, which one of these did it?
Right, okay.
She was like the one on the left.
Okay.
I mean, it's so easily to find.
So now what happens to that guy?
I believe he did 6 months of hard labor.
Hard labor?
Yeah, he came out a different person.
What? So they go to gulags?
Yeah. So with that in mind, why would you try to snatch a purse? Is it worth the $60 you're going to get?
No.
Yeah, it's not.
We have something that you might love. It's called People's Choice Beef Jerky. You've lived in LA. It's LA's original small batch beef jerky.
Wait.
Small batch.
Now, LA has had a long history of beef jerky.
Yes.
Now, where does this fall on the line of beef jerky history?
It's not mass produced. It's marinated, sliced, cooked by hand.
Original is the answer.
That's right. People's Choice.
Yeah. Wait, these are machine cooked, right?
No, they're put together by little hands of
fucking crazy.
Really a good set of people that are legal and love their job and they're happy to make this stuff. They got in the jerky business. We all snack on it at Gas Digital.
Hey, we've all wanted to be in the jerky business.
We've all wanted to do it. It's high protein. This is what you got to do. You know it. Rogan eats elk. Not everyone can afford to hunt and
I actually do love beef jerky. Can I have some?
Beef jerky is phenomenal. We'll get you some. PeoplesChoiceBeefJerky.com. TD15. You're going to get 15% off. It's a great way to stay healthy. If you look at all the healthy people in the world, one thing is in common. They all love beef jerky.
And the farts are out of control with beef jerky. You want to make a statement at a party, beef jerky is the way.
They're confusing how bad they are. You don't know what's coming out.
Beef jerky farts.
Thank you, folks. Goodbye.
Like I always tell people, like Lewis was asking me about taking marijuana to Mexico. And
yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the fucking drug laws are there. But if you get caught taking weed into Alabama, maybe you'll spend the night in jail.
Right.
But you're not going to go away for a long time. I would not take weed to fucking Saudi Arabia. It's not worth the risk. I don't think you'll get caught either way, but it's not worth the risk.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, and China is punishable by death to import drugs. So like the pros and cons, it's just not worth
Do you find that in societies where they have really tough punishments, do you feel safer?
Right. So there in China, once I was told that, I was like, oh, and I got over my xenophobia right away.
Right.
And once you told me a drunk blackout woman could at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever, walk down the street, pass out on the street, and wake up there on the street, untouched. It's like, oh, well, then I'm going outside.
Right. Okay.
And they told me I was the first comic on their tour to like leave a hotel on his own.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was like totally safe. When I got to Myanmar, I found out they're super Buddhist. They only care about helping people. It's part of their culture. In Thailand, they try to get over on you a little more. So you got to keep your eyes open a little bit.
Right.
But they're not trying to stab you.
In Thailand, you have some really harsh laws about drugs.
Uh-huh.
But you can fuck children.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, they got the fucking...
It's an interesting decision that they make where they're like, drugs, no. Sex tourism, hey.
Yeah, it's weird. My friend Rolf Potts, he's a travel writer. And he talks about speaking at schools a lot. And invariably, they ask him about eating dog.
Right.
And he's like, yes, I've eaten dog.
And I have been for that. And I wrote a Facebook post that people got very angry with. And I said it is more honorable to eat a dog than to dress it up like a baby me and paraded around the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
How dare you? Their statements are
because I said you live on less than $1 a day in China. I mean, this whole idea of like...
They're also free range dogs, and you're not going to somebody's house.
No.
And taking their pet.
Of course.
They're just the same as fish, just with more emotion.
I agree.
Anyway... college kids turn on him when he says that. And he goes, okay, you got to understand. You guys are taking it from an American cultural point of view where dogs are pets.
Yeah.
Not necessarily privilege, just a different way of thinking about stuff.
Right.
And so when you think how horrible it is in Korea to eat dog, let me tell you what the Koreans are thinking about Americans. They see the way we treat our old people, and they say, that's disgusting.
Right.
You ship them off into homes.
And rob them.
And instead of moving them into your own home because they helped raise you, why don't you take care of them in their old age and honor them? And they think we're animals for just shoving our old humans away.
It's true.
And we're looking at them for a fucking mongrel dog.
Right.
And you're like, how can you eat that meat when you're starving?
Right.
So, it's just a question of perspective.
I agree. I've always said that. I've always been pro dog eating, even in climates when I've suffered for it.
Stanhope said that about Stan said that about remember the horse meat controversy?
Oh, yeah.
Where somebody was putting
horse
meat.
It's a great joke. He's like, what, would they replace it with a leaner meat?
Leaner, more cheaper meat?
My family went to Paris once, and I was like 5. I was sick. This is back when you were sick, and the doctor was like, don't take them on the plane. Your parents would go, but we want to go to Paris. So, I mean, this was like true boomer fashion. They were like, he's going to Paris. But nobody would eat the horse burgers at this table they were at because my family is like, my dad was like, I'll eat them. And I was just so proud of him. He's like, who cares?
Dude, if they're preparing something in a restaurant anywhere in the world, I'll eat it. I did see dog in Indonesia on... Nope.
Have you ever gotten really sick? You eat something and then you just go, I should not have done that.
Yeah, one time in Vietnam. Yeah. So there are these oysters or shelled something.
God.
Oysters or what's the other one like those?
Clams.
Yeah, something like that. And I saw somebody like point and they prepared it on a grill with like seasoning on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. But I'm looking at where these oysters or clams are.
Yeah.
And they're just in a fucking
bucket.
Yeah, cool. With no real ice in there. It's just like water. And I'm like, fuck, I want that. But I'm like, Ari, this is for sure. You know when you enter into situations where you're like, I can't blame anybody but myself on this one. You know? If you go into fucking Avenue D at fucking 3:30 a.m. and you're like, fuck it, I'll walk around with my wallet out.
Right.
You're like, that one's on me if I get robbed. That one's
on me.
So I was like, fuck it. It looks so good though. And I ate it and I was fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was fine. Now, I've been super sick before, the travel virus, but not there. The ones I was like entered into...
I mean, listen, man, you could eat an oyster in New York City and get sick.
Absolutely.
In a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
You paid fucking $18 for that one oyster.
You know, Mom Moon's get that lamb /
100%. Now, you said in another podcast, so I found interesting, you were like, you're not married, you don't have kids. You're like, so you look at the guys who kind of are more tied down and you're like, you have to do things that kind of make them jealous. Like you have to live a life that makes not having the wife and kids worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to make them just not to like hate them.
No, of course.
But to show that it's like, oh, here's what I'm doing with my freedom.
Right. Now, do they ever do things that make you jealous? Will there ever be a photo of like Bobby Kelly and his son building a, I don't know, humidor or something in the backyard?
Yeah, so there's moments like that. I remember Mr. Butler, this guy in my neighborhood, and they had a kid way late. You know, they had a son 1 year below me and another one way year below my brother and 1 year older than my sister. We're all friends. They're my parents' best friends. And they had a kid way later, or non. And he was like 2 or something like that, and he would like hold him up on his feet, like standing up on his hands.
Yeah.
And then at some point the kid got tired out, and the dad was holding him at the Saturday afternoon table, the Shabbos table, and the kid just went to sleep, put his head on Mr. Butler's shoulder, and was just kind of out, hugging him and sleeping. And Mr. Butler was like, "This is what makes it worth it."
Wow.
Like these moments. And those moments they're like fucking cool. But it's like that Ted Alexandro bit, you know, where he goes, his friends, like he's single and 40 something. He goes, friends like, don't you find that lonely? He goes, oh yeah. I'm just going to do the bit real quick. He goes,
yeah.
There's moments right before I fall asleep. There's like this 5-minute moment where I feel utter loneliness.
Right.
It is complete, empty, dark place where I'm alone and I feel the aloneness and it's horrible. The other 23 hours and 55 minutes of every day are bliss.
Are great. Yeah.
So it's, of course, there's moments there.
But you're not out of the game. You ever think you could fucking late in life? You could get married and have a kid next month.
Yeah, I mean, I got a vasectomy, so maybe not. But
okay. You could get married and adopt a kid.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the more
Can you reverse the vasectomy?
30% reversible.
Okay. You don't want them fucking around.
Now, Bobby Kelly's kid building a humidor. Bobby Kelly's kid loves me far more than he does Bobby.
Listen, we all do.
Thank you.
And we love Bobby, but you haven't yelled at us.
It drives him crazy. He's like, what the fuck?
But it is cool to be the uncle.
Yeah.
The guy that comes through.
Oh, dude, my brother was like, I said something like offhand, like, I'm the cool uncle. And he goes, I'm the cool uncle. I was like, what? He goes,
what?
Oh, fuck, I'm not, am I? I'm
no.
like, no, dude.
Not in East Timor.
Yeah.
Facing down bandits to see Komodo dragons.
I was doing acid at the Great Pyramids of fucking Giza.
You're fucking in
and what'd you do?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Chipotle having a bowl.
Yeah.
You don't want to get the carbs. It is wild. Do you
ever want to go traveling and see places?
Yes, I do. And it's one thing, and it's a great regret of mine, actually. It's one of the regrets. It's one of the regrets that I have. Like, I have not gone out of America as much. I am 33. So I've been to Europe when I was a kid. I don't count it. You brought me on a plane.
Okay.
And I've been to Canada. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Scotland. All places to do comedy. Mexico not, but Edinburgh? Canada and Scotland.
You went to the festival?
Glasgow Comedy Festival.
Oh, cool. Glasgow's a fun town.
One of my big regrets is that I have not seen as many countries. And I want to see them.
You want to make you feel better?
Yeah.
China was my first foreign trip.
Yeah.
I told my agent, I was like, I want to see the world. And he goes, I got this offer for you, but it's not much money. And I looked at him like, it's as much or more money than I was getting 2 years ago.
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
Sure.
So 17 days in China.
Yeah.
And Hong Kong. But that was around 2012 or 14. I forget. So we're talking about 7 years. I'm 44 now. I was 36, 37.
And you were very established at that point. You were on your way to,
starting to get there.
Yeah.
I had 5 fans show up in China.
Gotcha.
So I was older than you are now when I started traveling.
Yeah.
And I'm now sort of known as a traveler. So you got it coming.
No, and listen, I want to see the world. And as a gay dude, I'm not hardwired to be married with kids.
No, exactly.
So I mean,
go.
I can go.
Dude, the cool thing about comedy is eventually you can just do gigs
wherever.
For break-even money and let yourself get a flight to. I was going to Thailand and somebody's like, if you're going to be there, you want to do a show in Bangkok? And I was like, maybe. Yeah. I absolutely want to perform once in Thailand.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we can't pay you much. And I'm like, they can give you a hotel. I'm like, what about my buddy? They're like, sure, we can give you each a hotel for 2 days and $300. I'm like, fucking
who cares?
Great.
Fine.
That means 2 free nights in Thailand.
Yeah. What have you learned? You go all these different places. What have you learned about America? Because there's a lot of people that travel and then come back and go, there's a lot of things that we get wrong.
Okay. There's a lot. I was talking to Rogan about this last week.
Yeah.
He went to Thailand for the first time.
He travels. It's starting now more.
Yeah. He never really did. He would.
Well, there's so much time in this business to just keep building shit.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point when you're like, okay, I can now prioritize.
Yeah, I feel bad. Norton, I remember Yoshi opening for Norton. He was going to Norway. He goes, oh no, it's city, show, sleep, wake up, flight to the next city, show, eat, show, sleep, next city. I'm like, well, then you're not even going to Norway. You're just going to venues.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, I love Mark Norman to death, but then I asked Mark Norman about China. He's like, the crowds are great. It's none of this PC shit. It's like, yeah, but what about?
But that's cool too. But this
it's
should
cool
be
too.
more
But
than
what
that.
about what else?
Well, yeah. So now all through Europe, this last tour, I'm like, let me build in days off.
Yeah.
So I did 1 show in Berlin and I had 3 nights there.
Yeah.
Where I could actually have fun.
Yeah.
And see the place and not be in a rush to get back home. But so Rogan just started going. I was talking about Thailand and he's really enjoying it. His point was the poverty there. He goes, I mean, you see the way people live and it's clearly not as good as the way he lives or the way even I lived fucking.
Or I live or anyone that has
the struggling. We live better.
Yeah.
And he goes, but they're all smiling.
Yeah.
They're all seem pretty happy.
Because life is simple.
Yeah. And so you realize I don't know, happiness, which is to me the utmost measure of a good life.
Right.
Is not necessarily tied to wealth.
Right.
It can improve it and get you happier, but it's not the main thing.
Right.
So yeah, what do you got to do? So I see our version of what happiness is linked to some sort of the wrong thing.
Yeah, that was like the flaw that I'd always found. Because like I grew up in New York, and a lot of people I know were kind of very far to the left, and they would always talk about money and who had money, who didn't have money. That was the only thing they cared about. They only cared about class. That's all they talked about. And to me, I would always say, but I've met a lot of those very wealthy people, and they have a lot more advantages, but they're not fundamentally happier.
Yeah, you ever seen Titanic? I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably was that like a big gay film?
I mean, I don't think it was. I mean, I'm sure that it has its parts of it.
Yeah, not like that Olivia Newton-John movie.
No,
Xanadu. It's not like
no,
that.
it's not like that. Yeah.
Anyway, in that, it's like the people on the level of the top level are not having nearly as much fun as the steerage. They're all sitting at nice tables with Linda and steerage. They're dancing and having a great time.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They're
letting it loose. They're letting loose. You walk down Fifth Avenue in New York and you see glimpses of people's lives. You look at like these people that get out of these black Escalades and scurry into these buildings and scurry. They're like afraid of people.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything.
They put walls around their lives where it's like even getting from the hotel to that's why I always shit on Stern. I was like, you take a limo from your fucking mansion to your office.
He clears out an office at Sirius to walk out.
Oh yeah. You don't see anyone. You don't know what the subway is. You don't know what the prices are. You don't know if it's gotten cleaner or worse.
Right.
You have no idea. And you've there's a word for it. You've insulated yourself
from everything.
Yeah. I will tell you, one of the most cathartic moments for my stand-up was a year or two in, super poor, and I was like budgeting on everything. I think it wasn't my budget, but what I was spending on food was $3.10 a day.
I spend that every minute.
Yeah,
when I work it out,
just groceries, And I woke up one day, whenever, I woke up on a Wednesday, and I'm laying in bed, just kind of like, it's pre-smartphone, so I'm just laying there thinking, and I was thinking about my friend John Cutler, who had kept getting promotions at this consulting firm he was at. He was advancing. He graduated in 3.5 years from Penn, and he was on the fast track. You got to keep passing people who even out, and he kept moving higher and higher. And I was thinking about John getting ahead, and I'm like, am I falling behind? This is like when I don't know if this dream's going to work out.
Sure.
Am I falling behind? And it was like a little worried about it, and then I kept thinking about him, and then I thought about my life, and I was like, I don't know where I can afford to eat today. If it was a Wednesday or Sunday, I could get the 39-cent cheeseburger deal at McDonald's, get a few of those. If not, I don't know what I'll do. I'll figure it out. But then it was like, I'm having a great time. I woke up at 11:37 whenever my eyes happen to pop open on a weekday. Right. And I'm fucking enjoying the shit out of myself.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have money, but this is fucking a great life.
Yeah. Because when you don't have money, sometimes you have to dig deep and find other things that you do have.
Yeah, take a hike. You have your legs.
Yeah.
Fucking have a good time.
It's like, if you don't have a lot of toys, you got to get really good at playing pretend as a kid.
Yeah.
I think the same thing as an adult. Like, you have to get good at playing pretend. You have to get good at figuring out what things you can do to entertain yourself without simply buying a ticket to something.
So here's what I found traveling too. The more fun experience is the poorer experience.
Right.
If you stay at hostels instead of hotels, you will meet more people and find out more things to do. The amount of research you can find online of what's there to do in Laos or wherever.
I will say that I do love a hotel, but you are probably right.
Yeah, it's less comforts, creature comforts. The showers suck, the beds suck. But in the end, you come home with more memories and more good times. And it's like, how do you tell yourself to enter intentionally into a worse situation?
Right.
Knowing you'll have a good time. Do you stay at Bonnaroo when you book there? Do you stay at the hotel 40 minutes away, or do you try camping?
Right.
Or get an RV?
Camping's going to be a lot more fun.
Yeah, it's going to be shitty. You're going to get dirty and sweaty.
It's going to be more fun.
Fuck, I can't.
Right, but it's the experience you came to have.
You're going to make more friends. In the long run, you're going to forget the shitty nights.
Yeah.
Of not sleeping and just remember the great times.
Right.
So it's hard to enter in those, and so it's like if I have one day in a country, maybe I won't go to the hostel.
That's part of being the freedom of being single. Is the hostel. Doing what you want, not worrying about a family and their comforts.
Yeah, but it's like what you said about insulating yourself about those people don't see anything. They wouldn't go to a hostel. They're like, fuck no. And you're like, no, dude, we'll have a better time.
It's better.
Yeah.
You could talk to people.
you find out what there's to do. It's like in Myanmar, it was like this guy's like, there's a circle train around the whole city. It lasts about 2 hours. That's a fun thing to do. It's not in the books.
Right.
And I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. And some other guy at the breakfast, the communal breakfast, everybody's like, well, I'm doing it tomorrow. You want to come? I was like, yeah, sure. It's got Big Red.
Well, I would meet, when I was a tour guide in New York and I worked on a double-decker bus and we'd go all over the city, you'd meet people that would come from all over the world, and a lot of the younger people would be in hostels and they would have a lot more fun than the people that were staying at overpriced, hotels. And the way hotels work, under $400 a night, they're almost all the same. Like above $100 a night and under $400 a night, it's a bed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Listen, you want to spend
New York, yeah.
You want to in New York, in most major cities, you want to spend $2,500 a night for a suite that overlooks, fine.
Same shit.
Whatever.
It's $1,000 a night.
Right. Whatever it is. But a lot of hotels, so a lot of the people that stayed in hostels were a lot more fun, and their days, because people will come to New York, and the biggest thing that would fuck them all up is New York is not a relaxing city, and these people budgeted time. Like they would get on the bus, they'd be frazzled. They'd be like, I gotta make Jersey Boys, and I gotta go here, and I gotta see that, and I gotta see everything, and I remember I had a girlfriend, and we went to Vegas in senior year, and she wanted to see every hotel, and I'm like, but they're all this. We were at Tropicana, and then we went to Caesar's Palace, and I'm like, but they're all this. It's the same thing. And she's like, no, we got to see every one. One is themed like Egyptian, and one is themed like New York. And I'm like, well, I mean,
how about we see some?
Yeah, right. So I think there's part of the freedom of going to a place and going, yeah, what am I going to get into today?
Yeah. So we constantly got like traveling, like pushed off our plans.
Right.
We said, hey, next I'm going to go to this city. And they go, oh, that bus only travels on Wednesdays. Like, wait, once a week? It says on the website every day, twice a day, morning and night. Like, yeah, somebody should change the website.
Yeah.
Like, well, who changed it? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck?
Right.
And then you got to realize, I only found out about this city I was going to 3 days ago.
Right.
So I'm in a different city.
Right.
So it's okay.
Right.
They got markets and shit to do.
We'll go to the left.
Around. Yeah, let's try to find a pub and watch a soccer game and with locals. Like, it doesn't matter. You're already where you are.
Well, I would tell people, they would be like, what should I do in New York? I'm like, just walk.
Just walk.
Just
it's a
walk.
great thing. Just walk.
Just fucking walk, dude. And I would give them walks. I go, here's the Upper East Side Mansion District. Just walk. And
it's so fun walking around a foreign country or a foreign city.
Yeah.
When it's warm, at least. And it's like you can get there. One of my things that drive me is I was in Maui.
Yeah.
On Maui. And I was going to get something to eat with a girl I think I was with. And so sorry.
Yeah.
And we saw some guy walking faster and ahead of his wife and mother or mother-in-law or maybe friend, who knows. And he was walking fast and then turns around with his face like, come on. And it was like, oh man, dude, you're already here. You're in paradise. You're wearing sandals and flip-flops in late October.
Yeah.
What are you mad about?
What are you angry about?
You're mad in paradise.
Yeah.
And so like, we're going to miss a snorkeling trip. Then it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Then what are we going to do? Lie at the beach and drink daiquiris instead?
Right. Yeah.
Like, don't be mad.
What a nightmare.
Yeah. And these people, that's what they do. Like you said, we got to do all this stuff in New York. It's like, choose less things to do.
Yeah.
And casually get to them. And then have extra time.
So you go to all these different places. You meet women. Are they fans? Are they?
No, never, which I love. I talked to Rogan about this too.
Yeah.
As I get more popular.
Does he have a podcast? Continue.
He does.
Kidding.
As I get more popular, and I think as anyone does, and I've heard a lot of people say this, I don't want to be any more famous than I am right now. I've heard 2 people say this.
Yeah. I've never said that. I've never said it. Subscribe, review, and fucking get this out there. I don't want to stay in hostels. I want hotels. I want prostitutes. I want private travel. Thank you. Continue.
The hard part is when you can only afford a hostel.
Yes.
Because then you're like, I wish I could stay in a hotel.
Right.
Then when you do, you're like, oh, I get it. Hostels are better.
Right.
But you have to have
you gotta have the money to make the choice.
It's like art. You can be a minimalist, but you have to know how to paint photorealistic to say I want to be minimalist.
So the women
Louis C.K., I was hearing him do a talk for SAG
back when
12 years ago.
Back when this was okay, when he was allowed to talk.
Back when he was probably just at the end of jerking off. Like, this was a long time ago. When he was still fucking doing it.
He was still whipping it out.
A long time ago. Does
that do anything for you, jerking off in front of a woman? Is that a hot thing to do?
Once in a while.
Okay.
Once in a while.
Because gay dudes a lot of times will jerk off at the end of it to just come, and it's weird because you'll hook up with a dude and then you actually just finish yourself off.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, I remember doing that in college a lot, where it's like, let's jerk off next to each other.
Right.
You know?
Wait a minute. You mean with a woman?
With a woman, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll touch a tit, whatever. Maybe I'll lick her like neck.
Right.
We're both just jerking off.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool to have somebody watching you.
Right.
And she's into it. Same way Silverman was into Louis.
Of course.
She's like, yeah, sure, he'll be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was, I think, right after Lucky Louie. Before the FX show that really made him humongous.
Right.
But he had done a few specials a year, so he's already like a big name now.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't want to be any more famous than I am right now. And he got far more famous.
Mega famous.
I also heard Rogan, before he even started the podcast, or maybe early on in the podcast, say, I don't want to get any more famous than I am right now. He also got far more famous.
Right.
And so I took that to heart, and I'm like, wow, well, these guys who didn't want that ended up getting it. They already said I'm too famous where it's already starting to affect me. I don't want to be getting any more. And they continue to get it. And I was like, let me just take their word for it. I don't have to make the mistake myself. I can do research. And both of these free-thinking humans have both said the same thing. So then I started taking steps to not get famous.
Right.
I was like, I'm only going to do things that make me famous if I find it creatively fulfilling. Yeah, I'm not going to do 2.5 Men, which would make me sell out theaters.
Right.
But it's like not worth it.
Right.
That's a price I'm paying being famous.
Yeah.
So like, what's worth the price? So anyway.
What do you think? Because that's a really interesting thing, and I agree with you to an extent. Not for me. I'd like to be the most famous person that's ever lived.
Do you really?
No.
Or do you just want to sell out?
No. What I want to do is have an audience that follows me, and I want to make a good living, and I want to be able to I love the creative freedom that people like you and Rogan have, but I also want to make shit we shot a pilot, and I'm like, well, I like doing that. I love the idea of making a thing.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you got to collaborate. There's some things you got.
Yeah, and fame helps that.
Well, also because I have an addictive personality. So for me, I like to work a lot. So the reality is I want to be able to do certain things that are very time consuming, but also, so yeah, fame helps it. But I also think that listen, I think there's a great level of people being appreciate what you do. I don't need to be in a mall where people are yeah, you're great, but I just want the power and free. Brian Callen's a great example of someone who's known, but he's on a show at ABC.
Yeah, you can get laid once in a while. That's a positive part of it. Some girls just a random hot chick or dude will be I want to suck your dick, and you're like,
what is the price of fame that you don't want to pay?
Yeah, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
What is the level where you go, it's cost too much?
Yeah. Now, Howard Stern can't take the subway to work.
Right.
He would get mobbed. But Louis somehow managed to still take the subway up until a year and a half ago.
Right.
And it was maybe you can just do it for yourself. But anyway, what Rogan said was in Thailand, I was like, did you get recognized? He goes, oh, maybe once. It was great.
Right.
No, it's just dehumanizing to be stared at.
Right.
My girlfriend says it. She sees it more than I do now. She goes because people will pass by me and they'll turn around. She's like, what the? Oh, it's so annoying. I'm like, I'm sort of used to it a little bit.
Right.
But it doesn't happen to me nearly as much as Rogan.
Right.
People follow him and film.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's ugh. And you're like, well, you have fans yeah, that part's nice.
And I think people want to fight him. These idiots, right?
They just want something.
They want something.
The best was we were playing pool once.
Yeah.
I think before the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, before the podcast. And he went to the bathroom, this pool hall in Hollywood. And this guy at the pool table 1 and 2 over was he recognized him. And so he came back from the bathroom and the guy's like, hey, man, what'd you think of that big fight? He does UFC commentary.
Of course. Yeah.
And Joe's like, oh, which one? And he goes, I don't know. And it was you just want to talk, but you don't really care about the words.
Yeah.
You just want this famous person talking to you.
You just... See, to me, it's always I was never more proud of my cousin because my cousin came to the New Year's show that the Stand did. He's a huge fan of Norton. He's a huge fan of Ron Bennington. And I was so proud because I had to say, I had to do the obligatory, hey, you want to come in the green room and meet everybody? And then my cousin was horrified. He was like, no.
Oh, really?
He's like, I just want to see the show.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he fucking gets it. I was so proud of him. He's like, what am I going to go have a meaningless interaction with people who don't give a fuck?
Absolutely.
He's like, dude, I was so happy to see the show. And I'm like, oh my God, so proud of him.
That's smart.
So
Bukowski said this, don't meet your heroes, because he's constantly writing about it, how these people look at him disappointed when an hour and a half earlier, they were like, oh, I can't wait to meet him. And it's would you think I was just writing about being a drunk and I wasn't one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what do you just like their work. You don't want to meet them.
And also it seems like when you've reached a certain level, there's an economy in taking you down. Mm-hmm. There's money in it for people to knock you off your pedestal.
I had this idea about Louis and all these other people where it's
what is that? What are you drinking, by the way?
Lentil soup from Sonny and Annie's.
Lentil soup. Okay.
I got yesterday, warmed up.
Interesting. I like a lentil.
People do want to talk you down. They want to take you down.
Yeah.
And so they find anything they can to take you down. And it might be justified and it might not be. But if they can find an angle to take you down, they will. So with Mencia, with Schumer, with Dane Cook, it's joke stealing.
Right.
With Louis, it's masturbating. With Larry the Cable Guy, it's hackiness.
Right.
It's like redneckery.
Right.
With other people, it's other things.
Yeah.
But they want to take you down.
Sure.
And they will find a reason to do it later. They don't like you being on top.
Right.
A lot of the comments, you see that article about Louis and all the bookers?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, who are these bookers?
Yeah,
there
who
was
are they?
one or two that were like, yeah, I know
what
who
do
that
you
is.
you book bowling alley in Brooklyn, or you know what I mean? Like I book a new talent night at the coffee house, and I book a hot alt show called Wooden Shoe.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's like, oh, I wouldn't have Louis. It's like, Louis would never, and by the way, you would if he showed up.
You would.
And he would never show up and you would. But anyway, all these people, wait, what
More
was
than
that?
welcome, Louis. Sit right here in this chair and jerk off in front of me, and we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll make out. If you want to make out.
Oh, yeah, good point. You'd be into it.
We could make out. Think of that. You want to talk about...
You want redemption.
You want redemption?
Have a full makeout
Start
session.
fucking me, Louis. Bring me to the cellar and fuck me. Make out with me in the table, at the comics table.
That would confuse people.
It would
confuse the narrative.
It would confuse the narrative. And just Sam Tripoli says it. Chaos theory.
Chaos theory.
Chaos theory.
They wouldn't know what
Did
to
you
think.
see Louis necking with Tim Dillon yesterday on McDougal Street? Chaos theory.
Maybe he's not so bad.
Maybe he's a great guy.
Wait, what was I saying about those people? Oh, I know. Half of them were like, he has his millions, he'll be fine. He doesn't need to stand up. And it's like, oh, you're mad at him for having money.
Right. Right.
Because his millions has nothing to do with if he wants to stand up or not. How
Right.
rich he is, that's not part of the argument.
Yeah.
But they put his part in there, and it belies their hidden inside feelings of like, I don't like people who have more money than me.
I don't like people who've succeeded. I hate them.
Michael Vick was dog fighting. But it's like, no matter what, it might be a justified thing, but we want to take you down.
Right. Well, it's also people that say taking you down is a way to elevate myself, which is you know,
one of two ways to get higher.
This is how these people are eating. And listen, as angry as I get at these people when I read these dumb articles, I'm like, oh, this is what bought them a bowl of ramen.
What?
This hatred of somebody. Like this is, and I kind of feel bad for them because I'm like, that's kind of a sad.
What do you mean? What bought them? You mean bloggers?
Any of the people from, you know, people that call themselves journalists to bloggers to anybody, and even to other comedians who I've been insanely disappointed about. They are, and some of them have a
Judd
ton of
Apatow.
money. Whoever they
He's
happen
not a real
to be.
comedian.
He's not a stand-up.
He doesn't understand what stand-up is because he's a faker.
But
and he just
these
came
are-
into it. But he's like, fine, as a director, whatever, do what you want. But you don't understand this world because you're not
but
one of these people.
Those guys are also like, listen, there's a sea change in Hollywood, and I want to stay on top. How do I stay on top? Who has to be thrown under the bus so that I can signal to everybody that I'm still a good, safe guy that people like and that people respect?
What those people don't understand is what the word integrity means.
Right.
And integrity, as Voltaire would say, is I don't agree with what you're having to say.
But I will defend your right to say it till the death.
Yeah.
Why does Judd come out so hard at Louis?
Virtue signaling.
Right.
He wants to show his virtue. I mean, when we talked to him about Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age kicking that camera out of that chick's hand.
Right.
And Dan Soder's a huge Queens of the Stone Age fan.
Right.
And he was like, it looks shitty. And then later it came out, it was like she was taking flash photography 2 feet away. You're not supposed to take flash photography there. You're only supposed to take pictures.
Right.
And she kept doing it, and he was like trying to kick the camera out of her hand.
Right.
And maybe it hit her in the head, but she was fine. But she was like, you know, we're in the victim culture now. It's like, I had a cut.
Right.
And it's like, all right, well,
I'm
this
paralyzed
cut's not that
now.
bad. Yeah, right. It wasn't that bad.
Right.
But you're like making it a bigger deal. It's like $200 camera. It's like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have been not abiding by the rules up front. You're distracting what everyone's here to do, including you guys.
Right.
Is this band playing?
Right.
And so we're talking about it, and Judd's point was, well, he should be more sensitive with what happened in Paris. And I asked Soder, what happened in Paris? I'm like, oh, his concert got terrorist attacked.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, so he was a victim of a terrorist attack.
And he should be more sensitive.
He's got to be more sensitive. Judd's just on women's side no matter what.
Right.
You know?
And he better be squeaky clean.
Yeah. Now, if it's the other way,
Yeah.
who's the chick who was also on stage in Paris during another attack? What's her name? The younger one.
I know Eagles of Death
super
Metal
hot one.
was Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande, I think. Yeah.
I think that was in the UK, Manchester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, you're right. It wasn't in Paris. But like, if it was the same thing, it's like, oh no, you got to be sensitive of her because
Right.
she went through this horrible thing.
Sure.
So it should be that the woman should be more sensitive of Josh Homme because he just survived this terrorist attack.
Sure.
But he's so on the side of women, he can't help it. Now, if you had integrity, what you would say is, I think this guy, Louis, is a piece of shit. I don't, but that's what Judd would say. I think he's a piece of shit. I think he's a garbage person and should be banished from society. However, this is a workout set, and these jokes, while they're harsh, that is what comedy is. Right. That is making dark things funny. And if you listen to the crowd, they are actually laughing. So he's eliciting laughter, which is his job. I fucking hate him, but you guys need to lay off this. It pains me to say it.
But you'd also have to wonder.
That's what integrity is.
I think some of it goes back to how people got to where they are. Because a lot of people get to where they are not by having integrity.
Right. He got to where he is by stealing Paul Feig's creativeness.
Okay. I don't know that.
Chris Rock, who says you should go straight to headlining.
Sure.
Oh, there's no real comics here at this back table. It's like, you got to where you are by having more talented writers write all your great stuff.
Yeah.
You never struggled. You're a phony.
Yeah.
You never wrote an hour special by yourself. And that's why your latest special is worse, because you didn't respect Michelle Wolf and Nate Bargatze, who were your writers, the way you respected Louis C.K. and Rich Voss and those people who you were equals by at the time.
Well, we're dropping the nuggets here, folks. You're getting them here.
Yeah, it's the same thing that affected Lady Gaga.
Chris Rock, you want to redeem yourself? Make out with me. Hook up with me.
He hasn't done something of value in 20 years outside like.
But I would say, listen, at the end of the day, Rock is insanely funny, legendary guy.
Disagree. He was.
Okay, he was, sure. But to me, it doesn't bother me that he doesn't write all of his own stuff.
No, what bothers me is a guy who doesn't write his own stuff shitting on people who do for not being as successful as him.
Okay. I'm not familiar with him doing that as much.
He's always doing it.
Okay,
He looks down on people.
Sure. I mean, listen, I don't know.
He literally has said, oh, there's no real comics here. And it was like, oh, no, dude, we're all fucking writing jokes. Something you haven't done in over 2 decades.
Right. So there is a, and the whole thing with Paul Feig I'm unfamiliar with, but this was.
Paul Feig was the creative one in Freaks and Geeks.
Okay. Yeah.
Judd Apatow has made his living writing coattails. He actually released a book saying, and it's okay, he gives opportunities to people because of his name.
Sure.
He wrote a book saying things I find funny, and it's just a compilation.
That is crazy.
Of this Icelandic cartoonist.
Right.
And it's just like, it's other people's stuff.
You're doing what the fat Jewish does that everybody hates, except you're citing them, which is better.
And the honorable thing is he gives them money and helps them.
Which is good,
fame. Sure, absolutely. But like, all he did was surround himself with talented people. He's not. He doesn't know how to edit his stuff.
But that is such a, I mean, listen, and I mean, I'm not defending any of it, but like, there are so many people that have gotten to where they have gotten with behavior that is like you're describing.
Yeah.
So,
those just all people I don't really respect creatively. I respect trying. Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Rewrite a shitty script from some female.
And is that part of your aversion to like, when you're like, listen, I basically don't want to get famous. Is it not so much a fear that you would do that? Cause I don't think you have that fear, but like, do you lose control of who you're around? You lose control of who you have to feign respect for? Because you could come on here, you could say whatever you want, you could do whatever you want, and that's an awesome career that you've created for yourself. If you went to that level where you're around these people, if you wanted to get a movie made, if you wanted to get a TV show made, do you lose your ability to say certain things and act? Yeah,
it depends. Absolutely. Like, you can't shit on your boss. I mean, Titus had this problem where he shit on his boss at Fox. And he was like, fuck you. And she was like, oh, your show's canceled. I'll never put it into syndication no matter what. And you put all these people out of work. That's it. You're done. And they're like, well, you can make money. I thought we were at 100 episodes. Like, normally that goes syndication. I'm saying, I'm burying you. You're done now.
Right.
So you got to use your head.
Yeah.
How much do you disagree with somebody? Now, my thing is, I generally don't think it's a sin to be a bad comic.
Right.
You're trying your best. You're honest, honorable best. You're not stealing material. It's not your fault. You're doing your best. A 2-year open micer is not as good as you are.
Right.
But they're trying.
Right.
They're not taking any material. They're not trying to like be rude to other comics. They're just trying.
Yeah.
If they're not good, that's not the problem.
Right. They're honestly not good.
Privately, I could discuss with you, man, that guy sucks.
Right.
But to publicly shit on someone trying their best is an issue.
Right.
And I've done it here or there, but I don't like when I do.
Right.
But when someone's not trying their honorable best, when they're not having integrity, then it's like, yeah, I'm going to call you out. It's fine. I don't care. So I can call out somebody to their face where it's like, oh, this thing was shitty. You just don't have like anger behind it is the best way to be.
Right.
You know?
You're just basically saying, this is...
I don't agree with this.
I don't agree with this, and I don't have to agree with it, and I'm not in a position where I have to pretend to agree with it.
Dom Herrera got, when Dan Cook was really trying to bump specific people, bump D'Elia. I believe he thought D'Elia was like taking his thunder, this physical comic who was doing the roles that Dane wanted to do. But Dane is hit about 50 years old, and he can't do those roles anymore.
Right.
And honestly, you were the biggest comic in the world, no doubt about it. you influenced a generation of comics.
That's it.
The way there was a bunch of one-liner comics after what's his name?
Yeah.
So he was one of your fucking. He looked up to you and he sort of mimicked you. He didn't take your material,
right?
Like you did for the other people, but he just did it. So he tried to bump him, and eventually, Don Marrero at the Laugh Factory was like, "Yeah, I think it's wrong. You trying to bump one guy. You're not just trying to go on. You're trying to like, when is D'Elia on? Let me bump him.
Right. You're doing this.
Like, yeah. And D'Elia didn't want to fight back. He's like, I don't want to fight with you, man. I just want to go on stage. Leave me alone.
Right.
And Dom goes, yeah, Dane, I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong here. I don't think he's doing anything to you. He's not like, fuck you, fuck off. He just goes, honestly, I've seen this argument. I don't agree with you. And Dane was like, you should be banned. And then Jamie was like, Dane, you got to leave for a while. You're going crazy. Dom, I've been friends with for 30 years.
What is it at the end of the day?
But as long as you're not getting angry and using emotion, you're just like, if you want an honest opinion, this is wrong. Or, hey, man, just so you know, that joke you're doing is a Carlin joke.
Right.
I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. And if you're like, yeah, I know, I stole it. I'm like, now I'm mad at you.
Right. Now that's a problem.
Yeah.
And there has to be a lot of the problem, though, is that you have a lot of people policing comedy that aren't comedians.
Mm-hmm. They don't even understand it. You read those blogs, like you're missing an understanding of how comedy works.
Right. They don't know how to give birth to jokes. They don't know that process.
Yeah. When Paul F. Tompkins goes, oh, Louis is so honest. How could he go back on stage and not talk about it? It's like, oh, you're not really a comic anymore. You haven't really done comedy every night. When you haven't been on stage in 10 months,
you have to find a way to get into it.
You just have to get comfortable again.
Right.
So like, I saw him after, I mean, I hate talking about deep, but I saw him after, this isn't something he like shared in private with me. I saw him after one of his sets.
Yeah.
And I was like, good job, man. It's good to have you back. That's exactly where you belong. You're one of the best comics of all time. You belong on the stage. And he was like, yeah, it was the first set I had where I didn't have to take my notebook up with me. I had to reference it halfway through, but I didn't start with it.
Right.
And I'm like, you want that guy who can't even get off a book to do a hard-hitting bit about exactly what you want.
On his greatest personal failing?
Yeah, it's like,
and making it funny?
You got to get loose on stage first.
Yeah.
You don't understand how comedy works.
Yeah.
And so these people writing the blogs are like, oh, you're just missing a fundamental idea of how this happens.
And I don't think Lou, from everything I know about Louis, is that he's not a bad person. And I don't know him, and I've never met him. I mean, I've met him briefly.
Always been cool.
There are people that whatever, but I don't.
Looks out for women.
From what I think, and again, this is my uneducated opinion, he will address it. He will get to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, not that I'm demanding that he does.
Do it. It's like, well, you're not the artist.
Right.
I might want Picasso, if he was still alive, to start painting about other things, but it's not.
We're living in a time now where these sickos are like, Woody Allen's not good. Louis, that's
the lack of integrity. Where they go, your art is not good because I don't like what you did in personal life. Like, I could I don't want to support you. Right. That's okay. But
Cosby's not a good comedian. I was in a green room the other day. Somebody go, Cosby's overrated. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You're overrated.
Oh, all these people that came out afterwards, like, well, I never.
What is Louis? Is Louis dancing? What is Louis doing?
I don't know.
He was dancing. I support Louis no matter what he does.
You're talking about getting ahead and having to
Kim Condon deserved it. She ran her mouth feeding. And she deserved, and that's their love.
Did you see her bruises on her face and her
They
arms?
love each other.
Oh my God. I mean, that's how they show love in Puerto Rico.
My neighbors used to beat the shit out of each other and the cops would come every night up until they didn't, because they were like, well, they both
want it. They're both co-signing on this.
What they do.
All he beats her hard sometimes though. Sometimes I'm like, dude, in public where it's like
it is wild in public when they go to an all-inclusive resort in one of the islands.
Yeah.
He will, as soon as they get off that Spirit Airlines flight, she is.
Laws are different here, bitch.
Pray.
Yeah.
Pray.
Yeah. So anyway, in terms of like being fake, one of those times, so after the first Roseanne controversy, where it was pro-Trump show.
Right. Yeah, everyone got nuts.
And Sarah Silverman was like, please watch my friend Roseanne's show. She's so funny. It's a great show. I ended up watching the show afterwards, all this controversy. It's like, oh, you guys are just reading the headlines. None of you guys who were angry saw the show.
Right.
It's
not a great
you're
show.
Even saying it. Right. Not even that. It's like, it was like a 2-minute
It's not even a Trump thing, but it's also like, let it, it's a sitcom.
Yeah.
Who cares?
One character liked Trump, one character didn't like Trump, 10 characters, including a trans kid, didn't mention it one way or the other.
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's not like this
I talked to Morgan Murphy
show.
about it. There's the writer of it, and she's like, yeah, I couldn't believe the reaction.
Right,
It's all written about in the Fountainhead.
Yeah.
She wrote about this decades ago.
Yeah.
About this kind of thing. Anyway,
now, what book is that again? Just for
The
people?
Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Read it if you want. Yeah.
I mean, there were things where I was going through an e-rage where I was turning the pages. I'm like, oh my God, she's describing every single person in my life here.
Right.
On this side, on this side, on that side. Like, and this was 1940, 1930, 1950, whatever it was.
She saw it coming.
Wow. So Ray Sani, his female comic, talked about Sarah Silverman, who wasn't this pro-Trump person.
Right.
Just didn't co-sign on writing off a pro-Trump person.
Yeah.
And by the way, pro-Trumperism doesn't mean you're building a wall. You're just like, I'm not on your side about what's awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, she goes about Sarah Silverman, super liberal Sarah Silverman. She goes, after she said, watch my friend Roseanne's show, she goes, oh, this is the bitch I got to be fake with at a party and pretend to kiss on the cheek, pretend to like. And in my head, I'm like, no, you don't. You can just avoid her or say, fuck you. I think you're an awful person. Yeah. Why do you have to be fake? That's what Hollywood is, man. These fake, phony people.
Yeah. One of the things, and I don't agree with 90% of what Ray writes, she's not fake, from what I understand.
So explain this to me.
Here's the thing. She's
nuts.
not.
I gotta be fake with and kiss on the cheek.
Well, even saying that is saying you're not going to do it. Because I remember her on Facebook where every day it would be fuck Whitey and fuck dudes, but it was never
it belies that it's like, oh, but a famous woman, I do have to be nice to.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
this famous cute woman, like Sarah Silverman's, she's everything.
But that is Hollywood. That's a great point.
Yeah, exactly. You can also just not talk to her.
You could just not talk to her.
Say, fuck this bitch.
Yeah, you cannot go to the party. You can just walk around Hancock Park like I do and look at houses with a yogurt from Salt and Straw and one of your 3 friends that you have on Earth.
Why would you have to?
And then go pet a large cat. Why do you have to go to a party?
Because Hollywood says you got to be nice to everybody.
Right, and you got to,
business.
Yeah.
You don't have to be rude. You can actually just walk away and be like, oh, nice to meet you, and then just exit.
And there's very few people that have carved out that space for themselves in that town to just go, hey, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be that fake Bill Burr.
On the Golden Globes last year, not this year, but last year was so funny. And he's like, I'm not going to work for these people.
Yeah.
Mark Norman, we were talking about it. He showed me Sam Tripoli's tweet.
Right.
About Ashley Judd, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are people? I was gone. I hadn't been home in 2 months. And I was like, what are people in New York saying about it? And he goes, yeah, no one really wants to say anything. I was like, why? He's like, they want to be on Crashing. And I was like, why would they want to be on Crashing?
They want to get $600 to be on Crashing.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Is that Curb Your Enthusiasm? You want to be on Crashing?
It's crazy.
That's one where you're like, if they're like, we offered you a role, if your career is going okay, you'd have to be like, let me see the role.
But it's also like, I think it's the bigger thing of like, they want to be on Crashing, but they also want to be the next Crashing.
Right.
They want to be, and it's not almost just insulting.
But where's the integrity? Go, no, I'm not going to work with you. I don't care.
There is none. And I think it's not only just Judd. It's like, well, there's other Judds. There's other people that behave in very similar ways you have to make nice with.
Yeah.
And that is kind of getting things done.
But Judd being against Louis for whatever he thought Louis did.
But these are other comics. I mean, listen, Patton Oswalt, these are big, successful comics that shit on Louis. Not one of them made the point that and then listen, if Patton made the point and I'm wrong about this, then let me know. I didn't see the point. Nobody that I made the point where they were like, listen, these are unfinished jokes. You cannot pirate comedians. Doug Stanhope was the only person who made the point repeatedly that you cannot take someone's intellectual property. But a lot of other comics, whether it's Paul F. Tompkins or Patton Oswalt, they just went out and they were like, fuck it. He's a red state comic now. He's all right. You
remember when TJ got in trouble for this? And trouble, by the way, is not real trouble. It's just backlash.
Yeah.
He got bumped by Dane at the factory.
Yeah.
And started live tweeting Dane's jokes. And he was like, this is ridiculous. What a shitty joke this is. What a shitty joke, how uncomfortable the crowd is. And people turned on TJ and he couldn't believe it.
Right.
Because Dane is a sort of a hated guy in Hollywood.
Yeah, but he did the thing you can't do.
And he was like, you're taking Dane's side? And we're like, yeah, man, this guy's working out.
You can't share those jokes.
Yeah. And he couldn't believe the backlash because it's like, it's beyond that. So like, whereas I fucking hate that guy. One of my prouder moments is like Eliza Schlesinger shit on me for one of these E-rages. Publicly shit on me instead of just calling me. Really went out of her way to like virtue signal and show that she's not like me, even though what she's done is way worse than what she was saying I was doing.
Right.
And then she got this group of people a couple years later, attacking her. And I wanted to be like, haha, how does it feel now? But that shows no integrity.
Right.
So I just had to tweet. I'm like, she's doing nothing wrong. You guys are, this is not something you should be attacking right now. Right. And I don't even like the people going, well, I don't find that joke funny, but it's his right to say it. It's like, well, why shit on that guy's joke? Just say the part where it's like, he should be allowed to say it.
Yeah. Well, it's
a comic.
It's 100%. You're 100% right.
Person, that's okay.
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand you thinking the facts of that masturbation stuff were different than I thought the facts were.
Yeah.
But the facts of a workout set have nothing to do with any of that.
No, but this is the thing. If that stuff isn't sacred, if nobody will protect that shit, then no one's okay, and anyone could go into any club at any time.
Mm-hmm. And we can no longer work out. No one can work out anymore.
I guess these comedians are just basically like, listen, I'll never be in that position. I'll never run afoul of the mob. I'll never be in trouble. I can never imagine why they do that. But
do you remember John Denver sticking up for lyrics and rap?
No.
When the big kitty, whatever her name is, who's the lady who was against rap music?
Tipper Gore?
Tipper Gore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, no. These people should be allowed to say it. And what was crazy, and it's the same as Seinfeld.
Take Me Home Country Roads was originally called Take Me Home Country Host.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people didn't know that, and he actually had to change that.
Oh, yeah. It's like
he gets it.
It's like Black Eyed Peas changing "Let's Get Retarded" to "Let's Get It Started," which is actually
Let's
a real
Get Retarded
thing.
Is so much better.
So much better. They changed
so
it.
much better.
We can't use that for an NBA.
Who wants
ad.
to get it started?
NBA.
Right.
He was defending something that doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
He's a clean musician.
But it's integrity.
It's integrity. He goes,
Yeah.
"Dude, you guys got to stop." And when Seinfeld was like, these people are too PC and whatever, Seinfeld's a clean comic.
Yeah.
He's saying, no, you got to let comics be comics.
Yeah.
Just because they're not into what I'm into, expression-wise, doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to say it. That's just what they're into.
Has podcasting replaced comedy because people want unedited, long form shit? This is the future. I hate to say it, but like, isn't this the future? Stand-up comedy, though I love it. It's what we do every night and we love it. But in order to get known and build a fan base and maintain a fan base, couldn't you make the argument that podcasting's kind of a much more effective way to do that than doing stand-up?
Yeah, when Norton got banned off radio, Opie and Anthony, and that was pretty close to a podcast anyway.
Right.
They got banned for doing some stunt that ran afoul of whatever.
Right.
And he said his creative outlet was taken away, so he had to do tons more stand-up. It's a creative outlet, podcasting, for sure. The problem is when people start taking you at your word for a joke, maybe using the N-word or maybe saying something, country hose, whatever. You're like, it's okay to say hose. It's never okay.
Right.
And you're like, oh no, we have to be able to do this in a funny way to appeal to people.
Yeah.
We have to cross the line a few times.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal because we didn't hurt anyone.
And that's not our intent. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just trying to be funny. So, but if it gets written up over and over again, then we can no longer be funny. And all you're really doing is taking away people's ability to podcast.
Right.
So when you take a Louis set and say, like, here's what he did wrong, what you're saying is everyone should record everyone. And then really no one can try something.
Right.
And find humor in dark moments. I mean, for Judd, I don't know what Patton wrote, so I'm not going to comment on it. But to
I think it's just kind of more piling on to like...
Yeah, was he talking about the material?
Yeah, I think again, listen, you can make jokes. I never have an issue making jokes about something that happened. Like you make a joke, it's kind of funny, that's fine. But I think there was like I saw him and he disappointed me because I think Pat's a great comic. He's really funny and like when I see comics of that stature not calling out how egregious it is to tape somebody, I'm like, that's kind of disappointing because I respect them and like them and what they do. You know, Patton Oswalt's bit on steak is one of my favorite bits that it's ever been. Like when he talks about going to steakhouses, a shitty steakhouse, you know. But
great at taglines.
Yeah, you know, 10 the way he's talking about the commercials, he's like 10 deep fried pumpkins served with, you know.
Yeah, he just keeps going. Tastes like asparagus pea mixed with air conditioner.
So good. So, but some of that shit it disturbs me. But when Judd does it, you were saying it's out of ignorance and it's also like disappointing.
It's disappointing because he's not that ignorant. He performs at the comedy show, so he sees people do dark stuff. My favorite joke of 2018 was an Adrienne Appalucci joke.
Love her. She's the best. She's so funny.
About the Parkland shooting.
Right.
She did it the day after.
Right.
When it was way more fresh on people's minds.
Right.
And it was harsh and she nailed it. And so she got laughs on a super dark thing.
Yeah.
He's got to understand that's part of comedy.
It's the way it works.
He's got to understand. Not even like, oh, he's not a real comic. He doesn't understand it. He does understand it.
Right.
So for him to go like, fuck this guy, I'll use this moment to attack him. There's this book, Still Life with Woodpecker by Tom Robbins. And there's an anarchist character in it. And he goes, the problem with political people, left, right, and center, is that they always end up letting the means justify the ends.
Right.
And it's like, no, you can't do that. I would love to write off one of those bloggers. Like, you said something, objectionable too. Let's get them fired. But it's like, no, that's not what I believe in.
No, they have the right.
That's not what I believe in.
Yeah.
So I have to defend these people who are trying to attack us
and take your career away.
Yeah. And I have to say, no, they also should be allowed to try to take my career away.
They should be allowed to do whatever they want. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
integrity.
It's like, yeah, that's what it is. And so a guy like Judd has none. He knows what comedy is. I understand for people who have no idea. It's like, how could you make a joke about Parkland?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's comics do that all the time. About AIDS and 9/11 and the Holocaust. We're sensitive.
Right.
We understand these are terrible moments. And if you're taking lightly a terrible moment, that comedy's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows what it is. So when he doesn't, it's like, you have no integrity. So that I can publicly attack.
Does it get awkward? Does it get awkward when you bump into somebody like him? Or are you just like, hey, man,
yeah,
what's
once in a while, because then it's like, I don't generally want conflict. But then it's like sometimes when I travel, I get clear.
Yeah.
I get real clear.
Right.
And so you can make resolutions in those clear moments. Only other times you can really do it is on psychedelics, where you see the truth in everything. And this last time it was like, nah, don't beat around the bush. Just tell people if you're not into what they're doing. And that's before all this stuff came up.
Right.
And so now a guy like that, I'd be like, hey man, that was really wrong what you did. I don't hate you. That was fucking wrong. You should correct yourself and tell people.
And so if you bump into him, you'll literally say like, hey man.
Yeah, I mean, I might not go up to him.
No, you're not going to initiate it.
But if he sits down at the table and it's like everyone's talking and people leave, I'm like, hey, just so you know, that was fucking bullshit. I'm not mad at you, but like, you shouldn't have done that, and it kind of hurts stand up.
And no one,
and I don't think you believe in it.
No one's that direct.
No, not generally.
No.
But when I got clear, I was like, I'm just going to start. I'm not going to censor myself.
Because you're like, fuck it.
I've got my career. No one can help me, and it's not even about helping me. It's about being true to myself.
It's integrity.
Egregiously wrong to the art form that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to at least mention it.
But integrity belongs in East Timor.
Maybe. Yeah,
Maybe that's how we'll end it. Unfortunately, integrity belongs in East Timor with bandits. It does not belong.
I wish I was funnier on some podcasts like this. I end up getting serious.
No, but listen, I think
interesting, but it's not as funny as I can be.
I don't think people listen to these things to laugh all the time, but I think there is funny parts.
Yeah, for sure. It's still comics talking about.
I think it's still comics talking about shit, but I do think people are like, there is this idea that like people are curious. I think we have different lives than other people. I did a show last night where all these kids from Princeton were there, and I was making fun of their jobs, kidding around, saying like, just stupid thing, like, why does every hedge fund, sound like something from Lord of the Rings? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Mordor equity. Like, why is everything such a fucking, And they were all like, so just after the show, they were all, they thought it was, so much fun. They were just kind of like, it is a freedom that most people don't have.
Doing stand-up.
To just say what you want to say.
Yeah.
To just say what you want to say. Fuck even the way you say it.
Yeah.
To operate and exist in an environment where saying what you want to say is even an option.
Oh, yeah. The shit I'd say and you say, if you said it on the bus with someone, you'd be arrested or punched.
Absolutely.
But we have this option.
We have this option. And it's like, that's why when people ask me, like, why do you guys talk about comedy or you'll talk about it? And I'm like, because it is kind of a responsibility because we have a thing that very few people have anymore. And you have to use it the right way, and you got to defend it because people out there don't want you to have it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what it comes down to.
It's such a slippery slope of like, I don't think this is right. It's like, no, you don't think this is right for you.
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman said something once that I really liked.
Yeah.
They asked her in an interview, is there anything that you think is off limits? And she goes, yeah, I don't make fun of a woman's weight.
Right.
Or her looks. Maybe weight or looks. I forget.
Yeah.
They're almost the same thing. And they're like, why? She's like, well, because a woman's value is so tied to her looks. I think it's looks. So tied to her looks because of our society, and that's what we value in women, that it seems wrong to take that thing down. And they're like, oh, so you don't think it's okay for people to make those jokes? She goes, oh, no. No, you're way off.
Right.
I don't think I want to make those jokes.
Right.
She goes, I'd be a hypocrite if I said no one else should make those jokes.
Right.
That's just what I want from me.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful moment to say, oh, I just don't like it. So I'm not going to watch this comedy. I don't like political comedy. Yeah. I'm going to go away.
To me, the most pure comedy is you're in your car in senior year of high school. You're driving through Taco Bell with your friends. You're high.
Yeah.
Who goes, I don't think that's appropriate.
Can you believe
They would be out of the car. Oh. And that's the funniest you've ever been and the most fun a lot of the times it's the most fun you've ever had just talking.
Yeah.
And hanging out. Who goes, wait a minute, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Our earth science teacher's wife just died and you're making a joke about him probably fucking her corpse. That's not for me.
Yeah.
No, you love it. It is for you.
Bill Burr's Efforts for Family, I think the first episode where the guy's head got decapitated and then comes back into the frame.
Yeah.
And it's like, death is not funny. It's like, well, it is here. I mean, for Judd Apatow to say there are human beings in that crowd laughing. So if it's devoid of comedy, then explain the sound that's coming out of their mouths.
There are some of the Parkland kids that think it's funny. The shooter would have thought it was hilarious.
I love those people.
Why don't we ever worry about what they think?
Come say that to my house and my friends. It's like, no, that's not where the jokes work.
I had a Parkland bit, which I never got to work. It always worked late night at the Stand. That midnight show at the Stand was one of the best shows because we could try out. And it was...
R.I.P.
I don't like it's coming back, hopefully.
Different place.
And Wednesday. I mean, not Wednesday, February. My Parkland bit was that I don't want kids to get shot. And I've never shot a gun. Like I've shot a gun once or twice. It's not a staple of my life. I don't care. But these kids are annoying
Yeah.
They're a little annoying. So here's my compromise. Let's ban guns because I don't want any...
Feel big annoying.
Let's ban guns because I don't want any kids to get shot except these kids.
Yeah.
We have to shoot these Parkland kids. We have to shoot the phones out of their hands while they're getting 80,000 retweets.
Yeah.
And we got to tell them, you're going to be the last kids to ever get shot. You did it, but we got to shoot you.
So now a normal free-thinking person goes,
half the room loved it.
I know you don't believe that.
Sure.
And so that is a ridiculous statement, and I find funny in ridiculousness.
It's funny.
If it gets translated, put on paper, go, you want Parkland kids to get shot? And you're like,
right.
No, I
but
don't.
it's funny because it also begs the question. It's like, how bad do you want the thing?
Yeah.
Will you give your life for it?
Yeah.
That's the other question. That's why I think the joke is funny because it's like people throughout history have given their life for all kinds of things. How bad do you want this thing? Are you willing to die?
Yeah.
If we ban all guns tomorrow, can we shoot you?
Yeah.
It's
to
funny.
To get it done.
Yeah, to get it done. It's a funny idea. Late show.
Those Jews who got hung for representing black people in the South in the 60s.
Right.
They fucking put their life on it, you know?
Right. 100%.
They proved it.
100%.
Yeah.
Always Jews meddling. Always meddling.
Yeah, it's this crazy thing.
They'll meddle even if they're going to die. They need to get involved.
We nosy meddlers. We really are. Dude, so you know how it's like you have to be safe for people's cultures. You have to like allow people's cultures. So I was on JetBlue where you get free snacks anytime you want to go up there.
Sure.
Dude, there was this Jewish guy next to me. I paid for the upgrade to Comfort.
Mint.
$50.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not all the way up there.
Okay, Comfort.
And this guy next, 2 seats over. I'm in the window. Nobody in the middle. He's over there. I'm sure he was there when I got there. And this guy was like, "Sir, this is not your seat." He goes, "No, I paid for the upgrade." And I saw the yarmulke on his head, and I was like, "Here we go."
Yeah.
I instantly did the math. He for sure did not pay for the seat. He's going to try to milk this as long as possible to leave with pride. And then this guy, this black gay stewardess, steward, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was like, "Sir, no." He goes, "No, I paid for it." And he shows him, he goes, "That's just a board early. That's $10. That's not what this is." And he goes, "Oh, well, I mean, how much is it to sit here?" And he goes, "It's $60. And I'm like, "Keep going, man. Keep going, Jew. You know you're not going to get the seat. You know $60 you're not going to pay for it. So leave with pride." And he goes, "Your seat's back there in 13A. Not 6C. And so he goes, "Well, is there a place to plug in my iPhone back there?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, okay. If there's a place to plug in my iPhone, yeah, sure, I'll go back there." It's like, "You
Leave
did it,
with
bro."
dignity.
Yeah. And the guy rolls his eyes and looks at me, the black guy. And in the old days, I would have been like, "Yeah, but I'm more woke now."
Yeah.
And I wanted to. I didn't have the balls to say it. I wanted to be like, "Hey, man, that's his culture."
Right.
His culture is to be
That's
cheap.
so funny.
How dare you?
That's so funny.
Yeah, his culture. Guess what? He's going to come up here and take snacks every 20 minutes for the whole flight.
He's going to do it.
That's his fucking culture. How dare you demean him for it?
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's his culture.
Yeah.
Let him be him.
Yeah.
Let him meddle.
I don't make you straighten your hair.
If this plane was going down,
he'd be getting chips on the way.
He'd be getting free shit to just beat JetBlue out of a little bit before the fireball. Where can people find you? Are you going on tour? You have that new hour, which is great.
Jew?
Yeah.
I'm going all over it. I'm going to eventually shoot it. I still got tightening to do.
Are you going to...
It's my opus.
You think you'll distribute... You think you're going to do it independent or...
Shoot it. I'll pay for it myself.
Yeah.
It worked out last time.
Yeah.
It may or may not work out this time. But
Gotcha.
until it doesn't work out and I've lost money overall, I'll just keep shooting
Still
myself.
the best way to do it, right? Most control.
Notes. You don't get notes.
Right.
I had to lose a closer on my last Comedy Central special because they were like, you can't have this punchline.
Right.
And I was like, a week out, I was like, what? And I had to scramble. And then right then I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'd rather do a CD.
You've like earned the right to not do it.
Yeah. And it's like, you guys can edit this if you want, but I'm going to make this the way I want to make it.
Sure.
So then I was just like, I've saved up all this money, and other people save it for their kids or to start a family.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I don't want that. I saved up this money to be a free independent artist. So that's what I do. So I take risks with that cash.
Skeptic Tank
podcast is always there.
Always there.
You've been on it a couple
I love
times?
it. Yeah, a bunch. I've been on it once, which people love that episode where we talked about mortgage sales.
Mortgage sales. Oh, and you came back on with Jermaine.
And I came back on with Jermaine. We did conspiracies.
Yeah. Yeah, the mortgage sales one was good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. It's a great show.
Thanks. And then, I'm just touring arithegreat.com for tickets. I go to Denver or I go to Salt Lake City.
And you're good about people buying tickets. You always try to help them not get scammed.
Oh, yeah, I hate scams.
Because there's a lot of shit out there. Michelle Wolf does this too, to her credit.
What does she do?
Well, she just helps people. If she goes, listen, this thing's, they're giving you a whole $40 fee on top of what you know.
She's into that? I gotta talk
she's
to her
good
about
like
it.
that.
I'm just shitting on Ticketmaster publicly.
I've seen her do one thing in like her Instagram story where she's like, listen guys, this is not where to go here, you're good, you know.
Yeah, I saw somebody go like for Sacramento, go $60 for ticket, man, that's bullshit. I'm like, what? And I looked, I'm like, oh no, dude, that's a reseller. There's still tickets available.
I like
go
people
to my
getting ripped
website.
off. So if any ticket third-party provider wants to contact me, how do we fuck these people harder? I will absolutely
Louis
try.
went out of his way instead of like using Ticketmaster for like Madison Square Garden. He goes, I'll rent it out and sell the tickets myself. I'll take on a $25,000 or $125,000 risk in order to like, but you know, he knows he's going to sell it out, so it's okay. But he goes, in order for you guys not to get fucked over. You're my fans. Why would I not care about my fans?
Right. That's 100% the truth.
Yeah.
That's 100%
the only people you should care about.
100%. You have to fucking defend people's ability to not get fucked.
Yeah, I limit my ticket prices. I'm like, some people, like, they charge $100 for a show they've started working on a month ago.
Crazy.
And I'm like, this lady, I'm like, what are you doing? That's so unfair. Yeah. And then people are like, Ari, raise your ticket price. I'm like, $25, $28, maybe $30. That's the right price to pay for a comedy show.
Right.
You can get $50, but that's not a right price.
My tickets are $86, but we donate a lot of that money to 9/11.
Oh, that's nice. To planning the next one.
To the 9/11, to the next 9/11, which we will be doing with the Mossad when we do. AriTheGreat.com. Get tickets to all of his shows.
Thanks,
TimDillonComedy.com. Comedy on State, 17th through the 19th. Governors.
Ooh, nice.
The best governors in Long Island.
Gross.
25th, 26th of January. All other dates, TimDillonComedy.com. In the spring, we're at Dead Crow. We're at Laugh Boston. We're all over. Tim Dillon's going to hell. Yeah.
I just because you said it.
Of course.
I was talking to Rogan and Segura and Kreischer. We have this little text thread that we love.
Yeah.
And so this stuff comes up about the bookers like shitting on Louis. And one is like, oh, he's a hilarious comic. Why would I not have a hilarious comic on my side? It's not for me to judge someone's personal life. It's just the art, and his art is great. And we're all like, fuck, I got to go back to Governors now to support this guy.
Well, it's true. It's like... He's right.
What a garbage group of people in that audience. But yeah,
he's right.
What? I'm going to support
Here's the thing about Long Island. Sometimes garbage gets it right.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes you look to garbage for your values. TimDillonComedy.com, all tickets. And please review, rate, subscribe to the podcast. It's not over.
Do that. Please don't. If you like me, don't rate or review.
We'll be here every week. I'm doing a lot solo. We'll have great guests. I'm back and forth to LA because I don't have integrity, nor will I ever acquire it. You think too much of me. Okay? I love Judd Apatow, and Louis raped me. Thank you, everyone. Remember Roast Battle, and no one cares about that anymore?
Yeah, it kind of went away.
Right.
It needs a replacement.
We got one. It's called Comedy Fight Club, and it's on Gas Digital. So if you're into people crafting really fun jokes, nothing's off limits, Comedy Fight Club. Shitting on each other.
That's pretty cool.
It's fun.
Now, you might say they stole it from Roast Battle, but they didn't because True TV also did a version. So once a second person takes the original version, now it's not stolen anymore. It's just part of the zeitgeist.
Integrity belongs in East Timor, folks, not here.
Yeah, it's like lo-fi. Sure, Jack White was the first to do it. When the White Stripes stole it, now the next guy, you're free.
Comedy Fight Club. It is unique and special.
Yeah, who hosts that?
Who knows?
Who hosts it?
Matt Moran. He just had a brain tumor removed. So that's where we get our talent, folks.
Hey, faggot, nice brain tumor.
Yeah, right from
that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's what we're getting. We get we wheel our talent out of the ICU.
You look heavier today. Your tumor must be coming back. Fucking dork, chink.
That's a great set. He's going to be on the podcast. Thank you, folks.
Your next fight. Introducing first, he looks like he practices kissing on his pillow, Bobby Sheehan! And his opponent looks like a leprechaun midway through transitioning, Jessica Clayton! 30 seconds on the clock. This fight or child battle begins now.
All right, so I spent hours looking at Jess's Facebook page, reading all of her tweets, watching every Instagram story. Anyway, later, Matt asked me if I wanted to roast her. Jess looks like she has porcelain dolls to practice drowning her kids in the tub. Jess's mom abandoned her as a child, which means the first room she walked was a nursery.
Jessica Clayton.
Oh, Bobby Sheehan, you unfuckable goblin. Bobby messaged me before this and told me I could ask him questions. I was like, I think I'll go off looks on this one. No, really, it's super cool to be roasting my first Nintendo Wii avatar. Bobby's a recovered alcoholic. He knew he had to stop when he got to the bottom of the tequila bottle and saw a worm banging his mom.
Unfuckable goblin. Not like all those fuckable goblins out there. Yeah, Chris Crespo. Fight Club is the winner of round 1. Bobby Sheehan. Or is the winner of round 1 Jessica Clayton? Close, but winner of round 1, Bobby Sheehan! 30 seconds on the clock. Round 2 starts now.
Thank you, the cuck of the Irish. Yeah, my mom had me when she was 19, and then she left, which means we've both made women leave for coming too early. Look, there's a reason they don't name hurricanes Bobby. There's a 0% chance you'll wet anyone's major area. Look, Bobby, I'll leave you with a hot tip. Women don't want to sleep with someone who needs to be burped after eating pussy, okay?
Bobby Sheehan.
All right, Jess, you pedophile's wet nightmare. Jess suffers from bouts of acne. It shows up every once in a while, but not enough to affect her life. I'm sorry, that's her mom. Jess claims she's a twin, but really it's because the only time she gets laid is when the guy's seeing double. One more? Oh. No, you know, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. Thank you. That was my impression of Jess's mom.
Fight Club is the winner of round 2. Jessica Clayton. Or is the winner of round 2 Bobby Sheehan? This fight's gonna go to sudden death overtime! One joke apiece. Overtime starts now.
Jess looks like she only shaves her pussy to make voodoo dolls of her exes.
Jess Clayton.
Bobby always has this look on his face like his babysitter told him she'll show a titty if he goes to sleep.
Fight Club is the winner of this fight. Bobby Sheehan. Or is the winner of this fight Jessica Clayton? Winner, Jess Clayton!